Chapter 1. 6. At 6 years old, Gabriel was already a small spectator of the world, a child who watched life drift by from the window of his house in Campeche, a city frozen in time, where the days slid forward with the languor of an endless siesta. The rain fell with meticulous rhythm, each drop, as it ran down the glass, seemed to follow a destiny drawn from the sky. To him, those drops were coded messages, mysteries only children could understand, and that adults ignored out of habit. From that window, he watched the cobblestone street, always empty, always gray, as if the entire city had surrendered to the melancholy of its own history. The colonial facades, their colors faded by sun and humidity, stood like ancient guardians of the past. Balconies adorned with dried plants and worn-out furniture seemed to observe the passing years with indifference. In the distance, the sea, eternal and ever-changing, crashed against the stone walls, whispering legends of pirates and treasures no one dared to seek anymore. In that suspended world, Gabriel's house was a capsule of silence. Its walls, covered in yellowed wallpaper, peeled like old skin, and dust fell from the ceiling in tiny flakes of lime, as if it were snowing indoors. The heavy mahogany furniture held the echo of extinct conversations. The air smelled of old wood, persistent dampness, and the mothballs that seeped from the closed wardrobes. There, among shadows, Gabriel spent his days in the company of an old golden retriever whose coat, once bright and gold, had turned gray like the afternoons of the port. No one remembered the dog's name but him. In that anonymity, the animal seemed to find its dignity. It moved through the house with the serenity of a benevolent spirit, its mere presence was enough for the boy to feel not entirely alone. Sometimes, they would both sit by the window in silence, watching the rain fall, as if that quiet was their way of praying. The absence of his mother was a living shadow stretching over every corner. Since her departure, Gabriel had been left in the care of his aunts, Alicia and Maria, two withered women who had aged without transition, like flowers that never truly bloomed. Always dressed in black, they moved through the house with the solemnity of nuns. Their affection was more duty than tenderness, an obligation imposed by blood. They cared for him, yes, but with the distance of those who protect something fragile yet foreign. They spoke in whispers, as though afraid to awaken the past. When Gabriel entered a room, their voices would stop at once, and in the air lingered the echo of what remained unsaid. The house, with its closed doors and dark corridors, seemed complicit in their silences. At night, the boy would lie beside the dog, listening to the creak of the beams, the whistling of the wind slipping through the cracks, and he felt that the world was too large for him. He dreamed of his mother, though her face was only a blurred shadow. He imagined her voice, her embrace, the stories he never heard. But when he awoke, reality settled over him like a tombstone. His mother was only an absent memory, a ghost destined to follow him all his life. Over time, Gabriel began to notice things others could not see. He watched how the shadows stretched and shrank as if they breathed. He heard murmurs between the walls, fragmented phrases that spoke of a past not his own. His aunts avoided uttering his mother's name, and that silence was the clearest confirmation that there was something to fear. One afternoon, while playing in the backyard, he discovered an old chest half buried beneath the weeds. When he opened it, he found yellowed letters written in firm, elegant handwriting. He couldn't understand all the words, but he saw his mother's name repeated over and over again. Beneath the shade of the tamarind tree, he read those lines in a whisper, words of love, broken promises, and secrets. And though he didn't fully grasp their meaning, he knew in that instant his life had changed. From then on, Gabriel became quieter, more observant, as if the house spoke to him in a secret language. He spent hours in the library, turning the pages of old books, searching for answers in words that smelled of dust and time. His aunts tried to distract him with pious stories and sweet snacks, but he watched them warily, aware they were hiding something. When the old golden retriever died, something inside him cracked. He buried the dog beneath the tamarind tree, and every afternoon he sat beside its grave, staring at the sky, mute, distant. His sadness turned into a cold rage, a flame burning in silence. Without words, he understood that childhood was over. From that moment on, he avoided his aunts, locked himself in his room, and wrote questions in a notebook no one ever read. Who was my mother? Whom did she love? What was she running from? The streets of Campeche, with their stillness and salty air, became a mirror of his solitude. Children laughed in the plazas, men drank in the cantinas, women shopped at the market, yet all of it felt alien, as if he lived in a parallel reality. Sometimes he would gaze at his mother's portrait hanging in the living room, a painting with a melancholic expression so vivid it seemed to watch him. In those eyes he found something more than sorrow, he saw a warning. Then he understood that the truth would not come from others' voices, but from his own search. He began exploring the house at night, when silence thickened and footsteps seemed to echo from another time. Every door opened was a confession, every shadow, a threat. And so, at barely 10 years old, Gabriel began his journey toward the truth, a journey that would lead him to confront secrets that were never meant to be uncovered. Because in that house, as in life itself, there were wounds that time does not heal. Only disguises.
If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share it with someone who loves a good tale. Your support helps me keep creating more stories for you. See you in the next chapter.